point is, the high street was absolutely mobbed by normal people. It was like a normal Saturday on any day. Now, I would suggest Clapham High Street hasn't got anything special about it. It's probably, if that is endemic of high streets across London.
Well, I think it is. I mean, what struck me and still strikes me about working in the West End is that if I were to go for a little stroll within a sort of mile radius of this microphone, I would bump into or stroll past considerably fewer people than I would in a stroll up my local high street, where, of course, the food shops are open, and that seems to be the thing that brings people to the pavements, isn't it?
A little bit, but I mean, I don't know. I think you're being a little bit too fair to the people in the high streets.
That's my curse.
They're watching this film. You could just see people hanging around. They weren't part of this lockdown protest. People were just watching because they were bemused. People were out, James, because it wasn't raining and they were bored.
You know,
quite a contingent. Sorry, just to answer your question,
of course.
I think there is a huge. When we're talking 70, it only needs to be 30. It only needs. Let's call it a third of the population.
I don't think it's anything like that number, but even if it is, what you're doing is simultaneously proving the point that the rules are not crystal clear, but also, and I think
No, James, that's a bit unfair. I'm not saying that. You know the rules and I know the rules.
I don't know the rules.
Most of my friends who are adhering...
I don't know the rules. How far away from home am I allowed to go?
Well, that's the one thing that, he's not particularly... He's not.
What do you mean that's the one thing? It's just it's the first thing I thought of. It's the biggest story in town. It's Boris Johnson's bike ride. It's the women in the forest with the mint tea.
You're wonderful at hijacking conversations. Why you paid so much money, I guess, and good at what you do.
To be fair, Paul, you've talked a lot more than I have during the course of this conversation, which is your want. Carry on. Yes. But your point was the rules are really clear. I told you one that wasn't.
No, fair enough.
Yes.
I'll concede a bit
but
to that. The rules
it's not conceding. Yes, okay.
But if there's 10 million people wondering about not following the rules, how tightening the rules further will only impact the people who are already doing what they're doing. If speed fines, if more people start speeding,
yes,
we don't put the fines up to £5,000 for speeding in a 30.
Of course we do.
Well, we don't.
Well, of course we should. I mean, if you were serious about stopping you make the punishments much bigger. If the rules aren't clear,
But I don't think the police, governments aren't going to admit it, and the police aren't going to admit they can't.
Stop all this hijacking. I'm sick of the sound of my own voice in the course of this conversation, Paul. So you don't know what the rules are, but you're adamant that they're clear.
No, I think they're clear enough.
But you can't tell me what they are.
Work. If everybody
so how far away from home can I go on my bike?
Well, the policeman just said 5 kilometres.
Yeah, that was a fella complaining about the absence of clarity and telling us what the score was in Ireland. But you tell me again how clear the rules are, Paul.
All of my
in the course of this conversation, you're still talking. In the course of this, okay. So what do your friends say? How far can I go from my home on my bike?
It depends if they go to their local park. You have to be reasonable. This idea...
What's the point of going to the park? It's full of people. The whole point of getting on my bike is that I can actually do some solitary exercise or stay away from large crowds.
James, you're being facetious
now. No, I'm really not, Paul. You're being a little bit rude.